Welcome to Making It Fun, everybody. I am your host, Rob Appell from Michael Miller Fabrics, and today I have a full-feature, full-length quilting tutorial for you where I'm going to walk you through all of the parts and pieces of this amazing sampler quilt. Look at this thing. It's incredible. I love it. We are calling it the Super 60 Sampler because it has all kinds of the different blocks that you can make, or I should say triangles, not blocks, using my super cool Super 60 set of 60-degree triangle templates. Yeah, these are super great templates. Unfortunately, the blue is so cool, you probably can't even see them, but there are 3 templates in the set for you. They are named for ease of use. They are named Jerry, which is a large triangle, which has a cutout there. And then there's also Phil, which will fill in that half circle for you. And then there's Bobby, who's kind of a triangle. These are 60-degree triangles, and they can work with all kinds of fantastic 60-degree concepts, 60-degree patterns, any of those ideas you've been using 60-degree triangles for in the past. Awesome. I'm just now offering you the opportunity to make a half polka dot or a complete polka dot and a diamond, as well as this really cool triangle. And then of course the triangles fit back together so you can use both of these designs in the same quilt like we're going to do today in the sampler. So I want to start by just kind of some real basics, like I said. So the Bobby template, we're going to come back to. The Bobby template, it does things all by itself. It's Bobby. It just kind of does its own thing. Jerry and Phil are going to work together here, and so what we're going to need to do is and of course these are pre-cut friendly, and I'm saying that I should let you know, of course, I love my Michael Miller fabrics. The sampler today is from the brand new So Colorful 18-piece fat quarter bundle. These are the cotton couture, the high density solids, and that is one of the keys to using these curves and really wild bias, right? Is using a good quality, high density fabric, a fabric that has a higher thread count, so it's not going to move and distort as much for you. And the cotton couture is perfect for that, of course. And then we also have a brand new bundle, which I absolutely love. The colors are coordinated with the So Colorful. These are the textures. These are Hash Dot. These are Fairy Frost, and these are Marble. And I am calling it the Frosty Marble Hash Bundle. That is right. No special licensing required to carry this in your local quilt shop, but these are a lot of fun. So that's what I'm using in the sampler project. You're going to see lots and lots of these because I just love them. Sorry, a little advertisement, of course, for my buddies at Michael Miller, but right back to how to use the templates. So what I did is I cut an 8.5-inch strip, and I stack them. You can see there's lots of colors in here. About 8 is what you really should get away with here. And now with you can see I've cut the triangle here, but I've also cut the half circle. But really, for just the triangle, you need an 8.5. For the half circle, a 4 1/4 will do. That way you can maximize your fabric if you like. Now you can see it is a 60-degree triangle, so I can cut this edge from wherever I want. So right now, because I've already cut basically those 2 sides, all I need to cut is this last side here. And I am going to recommend strongly, whenever using a template, you're using a 28mm cutter. I love the one from Olfa here. 28mm because it's going to really handle this inside curve here in a second. I'm going to apply a lot of good pressure all the way across my template here, and then I'm going to go ahead and start down here, and I'm just going to make a straight cut. Pretty easy, right? Now I also have included chopped corners on the triangle template because it just makes putting your triangles all together so much easier and saves a little bit of dog-earing at the end. So do take the time, go all the way around and chop off of those edges you want them chopped off. And now we're going to cut this inner arc. And to make the circle perfect after the 1/4 inch, I included a little oververt for my skater friends out there. There's a little oververt in our half pipe here. So be careful when you hit this with your 28mm cutter. It's not going to sweep. We got to sweep into it is what I'm trying to say. Or what you might find you want to do is start in the curve, cut around, keep applying pressure around the outside of that template, and then I'm going to come back here this other way and cut that right out. Super easy, and like I said, that's about 8 layers for us, just like that. So then the other thing I want to show you is how to cut your fill template. Again, 4 1/4 inch strips will get away with it. 4 1/8 if you're super, super accurate, but I always give myself a little bit. And for this one, it's really easy. I'm kind of putting pressure down in the middle of the template. I'm going to start down on the arc, and I'm just kind of letting my cutter, my 28mm cutter. Now, what I did find over lots and lots of cuts is that about this point, I want to drift away from the template, so I'm just going to put extra focus and attention into my cut. I've got my half circle here, and as I get ready to line it up to the sewing machine, I'm going to go ahead and just look for my 2 starting points. So the half circle is always on the feed dogs or the fill portion, and then Jerry is always up here on the top. I'm going to line this up. So now the opening is opposite from where the real circle is, where you are right sides together. And now as I come over here, I'm just going to lock together, back stitch at the beginning, and now I'm going to put an incredible amount of pressure and tug on this bottom piece of fabric, and my eyes are looking to make sure that my fabrics aren't rippling as they go together, and I'm lightly holding the upper piece of fabric. It's got a ton of flexibility. This upper piece of fabric, because of the way that cut is, can really shift and move. So just take your time as you go around, but the key really is extra pressure on the lower piece, this half circle, pulling it taut and letting the top piece just ease in. Anytime it looks like it's starting to ripple or pucker, you can always lift the presser foot, let that out. But you'll also notice just by letting my hands off, I can find a nice flat spot again to begin the stitching as I come around. Coming into that bottom corner. This would be a great place to use a stiletto or something like that to just kind of make sure everything stays nice and organized as you come over. Back stitch if you can. And you can see here, I did it. It lined up pretty dang good. But I will tell you, I have made 100 of these already. I've been demoing this for months as I've been building my template set, and not every one of them has even come out that close. So if they come out more than 1/8 off, you're gonna wanna seam rip them open, and I tell you, it's gonna maybe take 2 or 3. This is more of an intermediate template set because we have Y seams on the bobby template and we have this neat arc, but boy, when it's done, it makes for some amazing patchwork. Now, because we've done the curve and we're not in a hurry anymore, we're not quilting in a race, we're taking our time, we're enjoying ourselves. And I'm gonna come back in and now I'm just gonna clip my curve. So about every 1 inch, I'm putting my scissors in and I'm cutting almost to where the seam allowance is, cutting down to the threads. Careful not to cut all the way into the seam, right? And then from that point on, the next thing I wanna do is I'm gonna go ahead and iron this. And when I iron it, I let the circle portion lay on the ironing board flat, and I'm gonna press those snipped curves up and over into the triangle portion. So I'm not so worried about pressing to the dark side, the light side, any of that. I'm actually pressing up and into the triangle. I am using a bit of steam. And there you can see that is basically good enough for that piece. You can see the back is flattened out nice like they were on the other ones. And then as these go to join together, right, with my 1/4 inch seam allowance, boom, like that, we've got an awesome circle inside of a diamond, as well as all kinds of other designs. As I get ready to cut with any of the templates, I like to stack up my fabrics a few layers at a time. I'll do up to 8 with a sharp rotary blade. And when I'm cutting my strips, I'm cutting with a 45mm cutter, right? And so as I get ready to cut for the bobby template, the little triangle there, the third of a triangle, I need to cut 3 1/4 inch strips, 3 1/8 if you really are accurate, but 3 1/4 gives you plenty. So we're gonna take that down here. Step that out of the way, step that out of the way. And now what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna use my little bobby template. And I'm going to use a 28mm cutter because when cutting with templates, I just have a little more control that way. and I want to make sure all my edges are lined up over there. There is a line built in that is a 90, so you can come down here and trim about a quarter, half off. Make sure all your edges are lined up that way. Then I'm going to come here, and I'm going to cut. And on this cut, what I can do is I can cut all the way up this way, and then I can take my rotary blade and I can pull it back through, freeing that triangle, and then forward all the way through the cut, extending through the cut this way, because I want to make sure that my next piece is a good piece, a good working piece for my next template cut here. And of course, if you had one of those rotating mats, the Efficient Susan, as we love to call them here, flip over your piece or rotate it if you're on a swingers mat. Okay, now I'm lining up the whole template with both of these edges here. I'm going to cut, and this is what I meant by if you were 3 1/8, you're real accurate. So starting up in the template, rolling backwards, that's just good management, saves your blade, keeps you from having to replace your blade very often. Then up all the way through, come over here, nibble that off, right, oops, forgot that corner down here. I enjoy working with the templates because it actually causes me to focus and slow down a little bit. Believe it or not, I do like that. Adjusting your template in here. Now this last cut, what's going to happen is you've already cut this triangle a little bit, so you can adjust whichever way it makes it work, but you're really going to have 2 full cuts. So up here, through, all the way out, all the way out. Save that for later. Take that edge off. Take those edges off. That just makes everything line up so much nicer and easier. And voila, there I've got. And those were out of fat quarters, and so I yield 3 pieces in my strip. So therefore, in a regular width of goods, 44 inches, you'll probably get 6 of the little triangles, the Bobby template, out of it when you're cutting a 3 1/4 or 3 1/8 if you're super accurate strip as your pre-cuts. Make all your colors, and then you can start to play with them and arrange them and make all kinds of great designs. So yes, even though this is going to be a sampler style project, I really want to take a minute and show you how I did all of it all together. And I'm even playing with, I know, this fun little clipboard and things. And so yes, I was drafting all of this as I built the project in my mind, but I also wanted to use my 2 fat quarter bundles, which really means that what happens here on paper may not mathematically happen correctly on the design wall with my stash. So what we're really going to do is we're going to build this project 1 unit at a time, starting with the biggest portion, what I'm really calling the color wheel start. Now let's get over to the design wall here where you can see what I've already gotten started. And with that, yes, I did. I started with the center star, the triangles with the half circles in them, and going around the color wheel, blue into green, into yellow, into orange, into red, into purple, right? That's the way the wheel works from the center. And then as I started gradiating out, what I really had available here were the rest of my triangles, right? So I need to put my triangles into order. You can see I've been experimenting a little bit, so I do know that it is going to work. But as I put my triangles back into order here, I'm just going to come along, and even on the design wall, I'm thinking of them. Remember, the triangles are going to be laying straight in here, so it's easy to create my seam. And I'm building now the secondary colors opposite of where their primary colors would be, or I guess this is the tertiary colors. Not claiming to be an expert in the color wheel, only claiming to be making it fun while making quilts. As I lay this piece in here, again, I'm just kind of keeping visually the line on the design wall going. And one of the things with these triangles, so that it all fits back together nicely, is I'm also putting a little bit of overlap in my blocks as I put them onto the wall, just so they do fit back together nice. We're going to build this in a lot of small pieces as we go. The next thing I did is I started placing the white pieces. I know that the other triangles, the bobby pieces, use these third of the triangles, and so each one of the outer white triangles with the colored half circle And like I said, I've already put it together and taken it apart so I can show you how it's going to work. And so let me just cut to the chase of the formula I've created in this. Again, not all of the count and all of the numbers I have of my triangles are exactly perfect. So we're going to double up a few of these, but there is a bit of a system and it goes like this. You can really see what has happened here. Up here, my blue-gray marble fabric here, it was featured in this outer triangle, so then it's featured above. Featured here in the outer, featured above. Featured here in the outer, featured above. So if this one is featured in the outer, then I know that I'm going to have this piece here featured in like this above it. And so as I was going through kind of the light dark shades of the tertiary and the secondary colors, I then just begin filling this in because I want it to kind of look three-dimensional as I build the star. So I'm just going to keep working my way around in my order. And while working on this wall, while working in your color wheel, always the more you have your colors sorted, the more you have your pieces laid out and organized, the easier things are going to work for you. Moving from the reds back into the oranges onto the other side here, you can see now, just working my way around. The nice thing about having the white piece down here is it keeps me from accidentally putting one of the colored pieces in the wrong location. It's the best way to keep organized in this formula. Some of our other blocks will feature multiples over and over again, and those will be very easy to just go ahead and mass produce. And there you see the whole rest of that color wheel star coming back together. You can see I've got a few missing pieces of the white, but that's okay, because now I want to show you how we're going to go ahead and put this together right at the sewing machine. So I'm just going to work my way back around the star, and really I don't even have to worry about where the white piece goes. I just need to make sure I get the first seam together on the color. So while I'm at the wall, I'm going to lay them right sides together. And then as I bring them over first, I am just going to point out real quick overhead that you can see that based on the way the templates are cut, I'm just going to have my little points line up here, my flat ends here, right sides together. This is the seam I am watching for, and it's just a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I like to back stitch whenever possible, so I'm going to do that right up at the front. I have an edge guide to make sure that all of my seams are appropriate, are all consistent, and I'm going to sew. I got going so fast, I forgot to tell you what I was going to do here. I need to stop about a 1/4 inch back. So I'm going to back stitch real quick. Use my thread cutter. Okay. Now, the easiest thing to do while this is open right here like this is I'm going to grab my white piece to insert my next fabric. And we're kind of making a Y seam, but we're going to do it all in one stage. We're going to come down and then back out. So I'm just going to start here right sides together, and I'm only worrying about this edge. I'm just focusing on that point lining up here. I'm going to come back into the machine, but I do now have the work on the feed dog. So the 2 triangles that have been already assembled or stitched together are down. I'm looking at the new piece I'm adding on, and I'm just going to sew right into this corner. And when I'm about a 1/4 inch out, I start looking for the bend in here. And right here I can feel with my finger where this other seam is lying right here. At this moment, I can go ahead and lift my presser foot, rotate the under piece, spinning it right back around. And then sew right out that other edge. lock stitching it right in, and as we come right into there, boom, voila. And of course I should iron that out, but I still have all of these pieces all over the ironing board. Off the iron, looking fantastic, of course. Now I'm going to work my way all the way around the rest of the color wheel star, building all of my bobby blocks, the triangle blocks, right, as I go around. Now, once all of my blocks are built, I'm going to finish the entire quilt in rows, and I've got other blocks I'm going to show you in a few moments, the way that some of these cool three-dimensional stars come together, the way this will make tumbling blocks as well. These are all blocks I'm going to be showing you here in just a second, so don't go anywhere. But what I can't do is I can't assemble this whole star because I'm going to need to put other triangles together in the rows. So later on, triangles are going to go together, right? Triangle after triangle after triangle, and it makes construction super, super easy, but it does make designing a large quilt on a small wall a little more challenging. So that's the other reason. We're just going to do this block by block, or kind of design by design, as we finish out the rest of this awesome sampler. Okay, here we go for another unit in our sampler of the Super 60 set. We're going to make this really cool, like three-dimensional star. It's going to be a monochrome star. I'm going to need 6 new triangles, and it's going to feature 3 different fabrics here. So what I'm going to basically do is I'm going to just take 2 pieces, I'm going to set them right sides together, and I'm just going to line up the little square, the little blunt end right there as I go to the sewing machine. 1/4 inch seam allowance, and really the cool thing about this, even though it looks like a Y or a V seam, and it is, I have found the easiest way to do this is we're just going to sew all the way through this. Thread cut at the end. Okay, and now the key is to take the time and come on over to your ironing surface and just press one side over. Okay, and then I'm going to grab the 3rd color, and I'm going to get ready to drop it right in where it goes here. And I'm just going to only worry about the first setup first, right? I'm only going to mount it to 1 triangle at a time anyways. So I like to back stitch at the beginning of each run. Coming in a little slower this time, and I know where my seam is. I know where the first 2 triangles have been joined, and that's what I'm shooting for. And even though I'm using an edge guide, I've kind of lifted up on this fabric here. That helps me get that over, and the needle is now dropped right in that seam, and I'm going to actually lift my presser foot up. I'm going to take a moment and pivot nicely here around the corner, and then I'm just going to line up the tail ends down here, drop the presser foot, and hit the gas. Okay, now back to the ironing board, and like I said, I have tried to assemble this block or this triangle a million different ways so that I would be the best teacher of the tool. And for me, I find that this works the best. This seems to be the most accurate there, and that gives me a very, very easy way to do this, and even though it is kind of a Y seam. If you like, and if you're good at Y seams, and if you like to come down and leave a 1/4 inch at that pivot point before you put in the other piece, go right ahead. A lot of my triangles I've assembled that way. I just find that this gives me even a little bit nicer ironing point, a little bit more crisp of a center point there after we come off the ironing board. Either way, they remain accurate. For this star to work nicely though, what we need to do is we need to make 5 more of those units and make them exactly the same. So I want to make sure that I keep all of my pieces. So I'm just going to basically repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, and go until I have 6 of these. And we're back with them all pressed and nice and flat and beautiful, and I can show you, and I will show you, 2 different stars that are both really cool. We're going to start with this one, and basically I'm going to just take 5 of the 6 triangles and put them in my hand. I'm going to leave one of them down, and as we get ready to do this one, let's just give some names to our fabrics or our colors. Right now I'm just going to say light, medium, dark. And as we go around the outside, this is the outside piece right now. I'm just going to change the color as I go around in a rotation. So if this is dark, the next one that goes outside is medium. And when I do that, I'm checking now my different fabrics are touching here. Okay, so we're going to bring this. So if that was dark, that's medium. The last one that's going to finish out here is light, and I have opposite fabric, so that checks out. Okay, so then I'm just going to basically do the opposite here, or the same as the opposite side is what I'm really trying to say. So that was dark, medium, light. Now I'm back to dark. We're going to go to a medium, and then we're going to finish with the light on the outside, and I look around and I check and make sure everything looks beautiful for that. And again, because I'm building this and bringing it over to the design wall, and I'm going to assemble this in rows, I can sew these pieces together now and these pieces together now, but I cannot sew this row together yet. But when it comes time to join these together, it's very simple. I'm just going to look at them, the triangles all match up. I'm going to flip them right sides together, just like yay, and take them over to the sewing machine. And I actually like having these little tips to begin with on here. You can trim them off later, or when you press them, you can flip them side to side. It actually gives me a good little starting spot as I'm heading over to the sewing machine. Back stitching there on the other side of those little points we were just discussing. Running through. All the way out, back stitching there with those cross. And then you definitely want to press it before you set the other piece in place. I like to work this way where I'm kind of building pieces as I go. But because of that, I'm always double checking to make sure my orientation is where it belongs. Going to flip these pieces right sides together. And because I'm a big fan, I'm rotating my fabric. I'm a big fan of keeping the work or the pieces that have already been assembled on the feed dogs. And having the new piece ride on the work or the pieces that have been assembled. I'm going to come through here. All the way through. And now I have half of that monochrome star assembled. Remember, I'm not going to sew this seam. I'm going to put that together to the design wall. But let me show you what happens when we swap out one of these colors. I got to get those pieces cut. I'll be right back. Okay, so like I said, here we have another star for you, and it is the exact same construction. 6 triangles, 3 colors, all colors in the exact same location as we go around. But as I said in the quilt earlier, I'm utilizing white and black as the neutral or the background so that all the colors get to state their names. So I have my black as my background, and that would be the trick when you're building this star. So for this one, basically, again, I want to rotate it so that the background faces out of the center as I go around. And then as we come together, now you're just going to be facing opposite fabrics, which is a really cool trick. Make sure your fabrics have enough contrast that you can see what's happening within your star, and keep those neutral or those background fabrics on the outer ring. And you've got yet another really cool star, a really cool set of units you can put together using the Super 60 set templates, right? Same situation for this. I want to be able to float it around on my design wall as I'm putting all of the pieces together. So I'm going to assemble this section, and then I'm just going to put a couple of pins together to hold those as I manipulate and continue to play on the design wall. A couple more things to show you as we go through what we can do with the new templates. I hope you are enjoying this as much as I am. Now, I've got a pile of these primary base and complementary color families, orange and blue. We're gonna build a fun little swirly star. I wish it was as easy as just throwing them on the design wall and having them come exactly as we want. But no, I want to organize, and we're going to start. I made 2 sets of triangles. So we have both our solids and our textures, and then their complementary colors or their opposites are used on the interior. So let's start by utilizing our solids. I know I needed my purple triangle in the bottom here, so we're going to put that purple triangle. That was my starting point, if I remember correctly. So that goes there, but I'm not going to start, sorry, that's right, I'm not going to start by letting my polka dots touch. So I'm going to start with a straight edge in my vertical alignment here. And then so from purple then goes, we're going to go into blue. So we're going to build a star this way. And when I touch, that's right, I want this to touch like this onto that flat edge for fun. Okay, from purple into blue. So then on this side is going to be the red. And I'm going to leave it so it goes like this, leaving the opening for the next one. Then from red, we go into the orange. And the yellow. So again, the circle is touching the next edge, and then what happens next is really fun. And then the green between the blue and the yellow, of course, because we are playing with color theory here. This is a color wheel. So you can see they're kind of like pie edges as they go around. Now what I'm going to do with this, though, is I'm going to take the pieces that I have and I'm going to match up the center circle to its solid color as it goes around the perimeter. So now this green here is going to touch here. And when I stitch this together, it makes this new fun shape, right? And so as I go around, whoops, I should have rotated this. It looks like one more turn. I actually got them all wrong, huh? There we go. Okay, now they're chasing each other around like they're supposed to. Oh, that looks so much better over on your side of the camera as well. Okay, let's stop goofing off. Here's my purple. So now you're just, like I said, going to match in. And these are our rows we're building across here. This is a row. This will be a row. So isn't that an awesome looking star the way that comes together too? Super fun, right? So as I sew those rows together, I'm going to roll some more of these video because I've already made more of the slices and dices, and I'm going to let you see the next portion we're putting into our Super 60 sampler. Take it away. And with these tumbling blocks, you can see in this multicolor version how cool and easy they're going to work together. And all you really have to do is marry the same 2 fabrics from both sides of the triangles. Now this is the bottom edge. You see there's the star we already built with the black background, the neutral around it. And you can also see that I'm starting to fit in the bottom black. Those pieces there are triangles that look just like this here. And I've just used a black or a background fabric in the base of the triangle. And I'll go ahead and fill in all of these pieces like this. Now to make it a little easier for you to see and explain in the demonstration, we're just going to use a few of the other triangles that I have built for fill-in area. I did spend a bunch of time with this on the design floor. Of course, it's too big for the design wall at this point. So I laid it out on the floor and started building where all of the different stars are going to go. But like I was saying, I want to show you how to build tumbling blocks using your Super 60 set. This is the Bobby template again, the tri-triangle. And so all I was trying to point out is we're going to want our like fabrics to touch. And in a traditional tumbling blocks, we have our light on the top. So you may need to orient where you place your different shades. But now as I put in this next triangle, thinking these as a row again, so this is peak up, peak down, you notice I'm just going to match these 2 fabrics together, and boom, there's that square forming or that rhombus shape. And then here, if I were to go ahead and sew this seam together, all the same, right? Drop this one in here so you can see the way that they form together. as you would go in and just lay out, and that's going to make your tumbling block units. So you could technically make just a 3-color quilt using the Bobby template, 3 of your favorite fabrics, and make a tumbling blocks quilt using these. And as you sew them together, basically you just have this little bit of the V seam, the open Y, if you will, and it's very easy for fun for construction that way. So now that I have these pieces built, I'm going to use some more of my cool colors, my blues and my purple triangles I've built. These are going to be fill-in places. I'm going to go ahead and start to put them together. And then I will be back in a few moments when I have all of my rows stitched together to show you how we're going to finish off our edges. When we get up into these edge pieces, right over here, we're going to need to do a little bit of fill-in. So I've got a special way to show you how to cut that from one of your templates, and we'll go ahead and get those pieces built. But I need to get all my rows assembled so it's much easier for me to manage. So I will be back in just a few moments with that all taken care of. Now that I've got the entire quilt made and I'm building out these rows, we do have one last piece or shape we really need to build or construct. And it's going to be basically our 8.5-inch 60-degree triangle, but it's half of that fills in the sides, as do most 60-degree triangle patterns. So I'm just going to stack up a couple of my layers of my black fabric here. These were my 8.5-inch strips. They're folded in half. So this is the selvage end. So let's go ahead real quick. Come on down here. And now what I want to do is I want to make a really good, nice square cut. Just like that. I'm trimming that off. Okay. And then what we're going to be able to do from there is I have a half line. There's a grid line right down the center. You then find that along that clean edge cut you just made. Now you're going to obviously lay out the flat bottom down here and your flat top up here. And you know what, before I even make myself a bad cut and teach us all bad, let's make sure we're cutting as much to the advantage of our body as possible. I'm going to take a second and rotate that. Let's line that back up. So I've got a nice straight line there. And it's long enough that it gives you the accuracy you need. Plus you've got the flat edge there. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm going to go ahead and cut all the way through here like yay. As I move this, I am going to go ahead and take that corner off. And now basically I have these pieces that are half of the triangles. And you're going to need each one of those, one for either end of the rows. And then once you've made this cut there like that, you can technically line this back up this way. And if you line this up along this edge here, this piece, as you can see, is the exact same size as this piece. Okay, so all you do is you line your tip up along this strip here. That same center line is now going along here, and I can now just cut a straight line this way, and I am now creating more of those half triangles that fill in the end of the rows. And when I say the end of the rows, you saw me working on the bottom earlier where we had the tumbling blocks coming together. I've now stitched in all of the parts and pieces. One edge will be black. That'll be a little harder for us to see on camera. So this piece right here, we're going to go ahead and take, and we're going to use one of these half triangles. You see now that's going to make this all 90 degree, all rectangle. So we're just going to line this up throughout the end here, throughout that end there. I always like to have the fabric, the meat, the work, the majority of the project on the feed dogs. Let's back stitch to lock that in. Whoa, hit the gas. And here we go. We're just going to sew all the way through to the end. All the way out of the corner. Maintaining our 1/4 inch. Back stitch like yay. We're going to press that to the outside. And now I have squared off the end of my row. I'm going to do one of those on the end of both sides of every row. So the whole thing is now a giant rectangle, and I will be able to assemble the rest of the quilt. So these edge pieces go on before you sew the rows together. And I'm just using my background color, but you could use any color you wanted as just another part of the design. So one of the things I really do love about these Juki J150s, they are a commercial industrial machine, but they just sew and patchwork beautifully. So that's why we're selling so many and showing so many of these in the quilting world, is because they just sew like butter. And such a nice, easy precision. I have a foot lift right in the presser foot, so hands free. Really quiet, super fast, super precise. When I get to the end, I have a thread cutter, tie off, foot raise, all just by rocking my heel back. That's a pretty cool feature, I think. And of course, it's going to handle everything beautifully as I run this row through. As I do that, I'm just lining up these top edges, because I'm going to have flat spots along the triangles, and so I'm just going to look for those seam points. And again, I'm going to drop my presser foot. It's doing a back stitch. We're just going to do 1/4 inch seam allowance. We could have cut off those bulky nubs if we wanted to. Maybe a good idea. Then as I'm stopped there, I'm going to come down the lineup. I'm going to line up my next little stitch point down here. Make sure that those edges of those triangles match up. Let the Juki do the work. It's a lot of bulk with that edge guy, and it just pulls it right through there. Although we're going to trim those off on the next round through. And just take the time after each row to press those open, build and build as we go. I'll see you as we're ready for quilting. So here we are at the frame, and I'm a little bit anxious. No, that's not true. I'm a lot anxious, to be straight with you. I just have, I don't know what to do. Have you ever been here where you have a quilt in front of you and you're thinking to yourself, I'm so excited about the design, but I don't know what to quilt? Well, that's what I'm experiencing right now. So I'm just gonna get started. I've got some black thread. I've basted this across the top. I've got a cool backing in here. And so one of the things I'm just gonna go ahead and do is start working my way using each triangle shape as its own little design, as its own little motif. And you know, again, by the way, my disclaimer is I am no expert on the long arm. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and start doing some machine quilting. I'm just gonna do some echo quilting in these black triangles. I'm letting my foot guide. I have these black triangles all the way around the outside of the quilt. So I'm just going to do some real basic outside in maze work. Let's take a couple more stitches and then boom. Oh, I have my thread cutter engaged. So I do know that I'm just going to go basically around the black pieces and just fill them in. I'm going to save the white star area to try to really echo and fan out in the triangles of the white star to bring your eye into that area. And so I'm going to use the primary elements that I was showing you earlier in the video, and I'm going to try to quilt those to stand out and then just quilt the rest of the background elements quietly. I'll be doing a lot of thread changes, and I promise to get you great video of the quilt as it's all finished. But for right now, if it's okay, I'm just gonna turn on some music and turn off the cameras and get into my Zen over here and to see what I can make happen. I could not be more pleased with the way that the machine quilting turned out. I spent about 6 hours about 5 hours changing thread and an hour machine quilting yesterday. I literally changed thread color for each and every triangle throughout here just to make it all the more special. So now it is time to bind this bad boy. So I've got my binding prepped out. We're gonna head over to the Juki, the J150 here, and I absolutely love this machine for binding because of the way I can use the foot control and the needle. Now on the top side, I've moved my edge guide over just a bit, and you can see I'm just whipping right along here. And what I also just love about this machine is how easy it is when I come down into the corners. I'm just gonna prep out my fold or my bias turn there, pinch it with my stiletto. And then as I come in here, I can kind of just get it right where I want, then slightly lift the foot by putting my little pressure on the heel of my foot. Drop it back down, and I'm right out of that corner. So smooth, it works out perfect. I really am loving the new Juki machines. They've been terrific. Wow, how did that turn out, right? So proud of the way these templates have come together. Super excited about the design and the way that the Michael Miller fabrics, and well, you know, I'm just excited. And when you have a dream of a design and it's been in your head for about a year and you engineer it, it comes together. I'm super excited. Glad you could be here for the tutorial. So hope you enjoyed it. Get it, SEW, hope you enjoyed it. Please support your local quilt shops. Ask them if they will order for you the Super 60 set of templates from Appell. If you just can't get it somewhere locally, you're obviously welcome to get it in the description below. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. We will see you next time right here at Making It Fun. I'm glad to see you're still there. Hey, if you insist on spending all day on YouTube, great with me. Please check out a few of my other videos. I think they're fantastic. Hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to be notified. We'll see you next time for another helping of fun.